in this video, I'm going to talk about John Gottman and what he says are the 7 main principles that will determine whether or not your marriage works. The first thing he talks about is establishing love maps. So what he means by this slightly cheesy phrase is that you have personal insights into each other's life and world, what you want to do, what the other person expects out of life, a map for their future. So if you're able to understand each other enough to know really what they sort of plan for themselves, that is going to improve the likelihood that you will be able to keep your marriage successful. The next one he talks about is nurturing fondness and admiration. So you want a partner who is going to praise you instead of insulting you. Having contempt for each other is one of the basic automatic killers for your marriage. You really need to show that you admire each other, that you respect each other, that you like each other rather than feeling for contempt for each other. So nurturing that fondness, nurturing that admiration is important. On a similar note, you also need to turn towards each other instead of away from each other. So what Gottman means by this is that you respect each other and you appreciate each other's point of view, even if you don't agree with it, and we'll get into that with the conflict aspects of this. But if you have a problem, if you're struggling with an issue, your partner, your spouse is someone that you're going to turn to for advice. You're going to go to them before you turn to other people to get their input. So that is the third one. The fourth one, again, a little bit connected with this, is letting your partner influence you. So after you have gotten their input, do you actually follow what they say? If you respect each other and you are willing to share, you're going to expect it enough to actually compromise or go along with what they say. So you're not just going to listen to them, you're also going to let it influence what you end up deciding. And again, that goes along with admiring them. If you respect them and you listen to them, every once in a while, lo and behold, you actually are able to agree and do what they suggest. So a lot of these also connect with how you are going to deal with conflict. So his fifth principle is solving solvable conflicts. So Gottman says that there are 2 types of conflicts that you can see in a marriage. Some are solvable conflicts. These are the ones that actually have a solution that you can get at. So if you have a solvable conflict, are you actually able to solve it together? The other type of conflict he talks about are perpetual conflicts, perpetual problems. And an example of this would be if one of the spouses wants a baby and the other one doesn't. That is not something that is easy to go away. About 2/3 of marital problems come from these perpetual problems. And you don't really need to solve the perpetual ones. That's a tricky thing to get over. It's more about dealing with it in healthy ways. But if it is solvable problems, things like if your spouse doesn't do the dishes as much as you would like, that's something that you can actually work on, you can actually change. So if it's a solvable problem, do you actually go about trying to fix it? That is an important principle for marriage. The 7th one, also connected to conflict, is overcoming gridlock. And so this is, again, connected to conflict, and it's not about solving problems, but starting a dialogue, not letting yourself get into this intractable situation, not letting solvable problems turn into perpetual ones. So if you are able to keep the dialogue open and stay patient, you're able to prevent barriers from being created when conflict arises. And then the final principle that will help you stay married and not divorced is creating shared meaning. And again, this is similar to several of these. So if you're creating shared meaning, what this means is that you're talking candidly and respectfully with each other. You're sharing your goals. You're working together towards those goals. So you're being respectful. You know what each other wants, and it is similar. You're going to ask each other for information. You're going to actually influence each other. So you're going to have a shared love map, basically, not just having a love map, but having your love maps be similar. You have a similar path that you're following together. So Gottman says these are the main principles in order to have a happy marriage. Again, some of these matter slightly more. For example, the having fondness and admiration instead of contempt. That is a big one. For example, he's done some research where he has couples hang out in an apartment all weekend and videotapes them. And a big factor in determining whether or not that couple's going to end up divorced is how many bids for attention they have. And a bid for attention is just any time when your eyes meet, you make some sort of connection with each other. You say, hey, look at this, and your partner actually looks. Or you ask a question and your partner responds. It's these moments of interaction. And that is a significant predictor of divorce. The more bids for attention you have, the happier your marriage is and the more likely it is to exist. And so making sure you respect each other, actually caring about the other person's input and having similar ideas, making sure that when you fight, you're fighting fair and actually working to decrease those fights and solve them when possible. All those things are going to help your marriage survive.